Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and you're watching the Tonight Show podcast for tonight, the 12th of May. Yes, we are on a bit later than I was planning to, but we are still on tonight. We're going to be delivering you over the next hour or so plenty of straight talking discussions and analysis of the biggest news stories of the week. I'm joined by my co-host, Laid Party supporter, Zach Chambers, around all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, well, let's kick off the show now. Now, as you could see from the titles, we have got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to start off, though, with the big news this week, which is about a former Conservative MP who's decided to join the Reclaim Party. Yes, Andrew Bridgen. Now, Andrew Bridgen, you might remember, used to be the former Conservative MP for North West Leicestershire, a constituency that is currently held by the Conservatives, probably will no longer be held by them for much longer. Andrew Bridgen becomes the first MP of Laurence Fox's Reclaim Party to have a seat in the House of Commons. Zach, what do you make to this appointment to Laurence Fox's new party for Andrew Bridgen?
Well, probably think about it. Probably fits very well. Andrew Bridgen, being the MP for North West Leicestershire for quite a while now, actually. I think it was 2010, maybe was one of those times where he joined became a Conservative MP in that constituency. And yeah, he's been a barrage of controversy to that man, especially over lying to court, many other things. You couldn't name one thing that you couldn't get controversy of as well. But the biggest controversy that he came across was early this year when he compared the vaccines to the Holocaust, which led to his ultimate removal to the Conservative Party. He got suspended the whip, he then got expelled to widespread condemnation. And since pretty much the COVID vaccines had come out, he'd become a bit of a conspiracy theorist for claiming that the US orchestrated the coronavirus pandemic and saying that the vaccines don't work and are, like you said, compared them to the Holocaust, which is not a very nice thing to hear at all, and quite frankly pathetic. And I should say, for the benefit of this, there is the COVID vaccine is nothing like the Holocaust. And quite frankly, it's a pathetic comment, really, from an egotistic man that should know better. So really and truly, he will fit well in the new in Laurence Fox's Reclaim Party, which is just which is full of conspiracy theories of vaccine claims and all that sort of thing as well. But Laurence Fox has got his first MP, a bit of party switcher for Conservative to the Reclaim. He'll only have that seat for probably about another year or two before he loses it and all that sort of thing as well. It probably up to the voters to decide who to kick out of the seat. But I can't imagine anyone with the word reclaim is going to win that seat in North West Leicestershire. At the best, it'll be Conservative. At the worst possible scenario, Conservatives, it'll probably be Labour. Given the fact that North West Leicestershire, the Labour Party made lots of progress in the local elections there as well. So, but Laurence Fox can claim victory that he's got his first MP as well in Reclaim, which is obviously about reclaiming all about free speech, freedom. You hear the all. Laurence Fox is obviously the GB News host on Fridays at 7 p.m. As well. So he'll do the Reclaim leadership alongside his GB News duties as well. And you can see he held a press conference on the day that Andrew Bridgen was announced to join as well. Now, we saw one of the spectacles where Andrew Bridgen also crossed sides before Prime Minister's questions as well. It's what easily every party does, person does when they deflect from one party to another, cross the floor of the House, join the other side. Unlike the time when, Christian Wakeford went from Conservative to the Labour Party, Andrew Bridgen didn't get quite the reception compared to the others. No, I don't think no one was even celebrating. I think just shows you how what the approval of the man is, really, quite frankly. Gone from the left bench to the right benches, trying to sit next to Aid David and Caroline Lucas. it's a bit of a strange sight, quite frankly, seeing him right next to them. But it's the situation that they've got themselves into, quite frankly. With Andrew Bridgen moving along as well. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose situation. If whatever Andrew Bridgen thinks he's going to do, he's going to stand for re-election for the Reclaim Party in North West Lancashire. But it's a lose-lose either way, because otherwise he's going to lose his seat. He's going to either lost the Conservative Party whip, which means he would have been an independent, or he would have joined another party, which to the point where they probably wouldn't have an opportunity anyway, based on the fact that people vote by a party, not their local MPs. And yeah, so he'll probably be the glory sitting for his glorious Reclaim Party for about a year or so, and then a bit more than a year potentially, and then lose his seat again when we get to the 2024 elections, because that's probably what's going to happen. So this is basically Andrew Bridgen's last gasp to be a conspiracy theorist, a nutter, and just some so-called not so truth teller who really, quite frankly, likes the sound of his own voice.
It's very interesting to say this. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on there, because I've been following this ever since the appointment came out. Obviously, my opinion is not going to... I'm not going to give my opinion on this show tonight, because I want to make this as impartial as possible. It is a very interesting appointment. Now, obviously, Laurence Fox, as Zach pointed out there, is obviously a GB News host on Fridays. Obviously, you might remember Jacob Rees-Mogg also hosts a GB News show as well, I think Monday to Thursday. Another sitting MP who has also hosted a GB News show. So, and obviously we're going to have another one, Lee Anderson taking another slot. We don't know quite that as well. Now, I'm going to play for you Andrew Bridgen's appointment to the Reclaim Party. Now, this was sent out on the Reclaim Party's YouTube channel and social media account, and exactly what Andrew Bridgen wants to do as a Reclaim MP. Have a listen to this video here.
My name's Andrew Bridgen. I'm the Member of Parliament for North West Leicestershire. We're here at Breedon-on-the-Hill Church, somewhere I come to recharge my batteries in the constituency. For the last 13 years, it's been an honour and a privilege to represent you, the people of North West Leicestershire, as your Member of Parliament in London. When I was first elected, I promised that I'd try and make North West Leicestershire a better place to live, to work, and to visit. I think we've achieved that, and there's so much more we can do together. North West Leicestershire was always considered a poor part of the county. We're now the richest, the only part of our county which has above average UK salaries because of the extra jobs we brought in. There's 1.2 jobs for everyone of working age in the constituency. The longest council tax freeze in the history of the UK. Unemployment is a fraction of the national average. We're not just building new houses and new jobs with new industrial estates in North West Leicestershire. We're building communities. The ability to go out to work and keep more of your own money, freedom of speech, protection of your own family, taking responsibility for your own affairs, they're the bedrock of this country, and that's how we've prospered over the years. There doesn't seem to be a party in Westminster that embodies those values anymore. There's a huge chasm now between our Parliament and what goes on in Westminster and the people. And that chasm is getting ever wider. We used to have a Parliament that legislated for the people. Now we have a Parliament that inflicts laws upon the people. When the people are scared of the politicians, that's tyranny. And when the politicians are scared of the people, that's democracy. That's why I've joined the Reclaim Party, because they respect free speech as the basis for every aspect of our democracy and our society. You'll be well aware of many of the problems facing the country at the moment. I want to continue to be your MP, and I want to be part of the solution. There's going to be a general election, I think, fairly soon in our country, and my goodness, we need it. What I'd ask you to do is go to the Reclaim Party website, look at their policies, look at our policies, and consider very carefully who you're going to vote for at the next general election, because the future, not only of our country and our Parliament and our politics, but our society will rely on that. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you there. That was a party election broadcast there by the Reclaim Party for Andrew Bridgen's appointment as MP there. We can confirm that to you right now. Now, that's the end of that part of the Andrew Bridgen defecting to Reclaim. Moving on now to another thing this week. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the House of Commons this week because I want to go over some of the Parliament news this week. Now, obviously, we are going to talk firstly about what happened in the Commons the other day with Kemi Badenoch and Lindsay Hoyle having a big clash over a Brexit bill that was apparently not been briefed to MPs after being briefed out apparently to the public first. So we had COVID laws that were apparently briefed out first before MPs heard it. Talk about scrutiny in that measure. Now being apparently Lindsay Hoyle has gone again and attacked another Conservative MP over it. I mean, Zach, what do you make to this exchange in the Commons between Kemi Badenoch and the Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle?
I mean, yeah, it was quite the ferocious between the Lindsay Hoyle and Kemi Badenoch the other day. It's not the first time, I should point this out, it's not the first time that Lindsay Hoyle has got into quite significant clashes with Conservative MPs and ministers in the chamber, and certainly not the first time that the Commons have been sidestepped for announcements to be briefed to the media. I mean, it's becoming a very typical affair these days. Lindsay Hoyle has been the sort of the person that wants to stand up and say this should not be briefed to the media. Obviously wants to stand up to the rights of Parliament, and here any announcements have got to be heard there first in the chamber. Now, like I say, it's not the first time it's happened, but it's not the first time that Hoyle has clashed with MPs. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there's been several. It's been a constant theme where Conservative ministers brief things out to the media before they get briefed out to Parliament. But it was the way that Kemi Badenoch, I think, sort of reacted to this telling off the Speaker, telling off from the Speaker, that prompted Lindsay Hoyle's fury even more, because I remember Lindsay Hoyle saying to Kemi Badenoch about the procedure, about it being, been announced in Parliament first. And I think Kemi Badenoch pointed out, I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't, if I remember rightly, if he said this as well. I'm just going back if I remember. As well, and so she went as well. She went, I'm very sorry that the sequence seems to be that we choose was not to your satisfaction. Obviously upset the Speaker because of the way, the tone and the attitude that was being said to the Speaker as well. And then you went to rather booming voice, who do you think you are speaking to the Secretary of State? I'm defender of this House and these benches for this. I'm not going to be spoken to by Secretary of State who's absolutely not accepting my ruling as well. And he was very angry, I have to say, Lindsay Hoyle, very angry. Not the first time he said he'd been angry, and I guess it's not going to be the last as well, because Conservative ministers keep doing this over and over as well. Now, to clarify, obviously, what as well, this law that obviously Lindsay Hoyle was upset that wasn't being announced to House first, was this a U-turn on the EU retained law. Now, Rishi Sunak promised in his campaign that it was by the end of in the first 100 days of his premiership, that he would get rid of all EU legislation from UK law by the end of 2023. Now, only about 600, I think, or so of the, I don't know, 4,000, 50, I can't remember the number, is going to be removed rather than the whole lot. Instead, it's going to be phased out on a generous phase rather than doing it all in one go. To the disappointment and, quite frankly, anger of Brexiteer MPs who passed this law thinking that it was all going to go. And yeah, it caused a little bit. It caused a bit of upset. I mean, 4,000 is the number of EU laws in the statute book, but only 600 is going by the end of the year, rather than all the 4,000. So, and obviously, in the context, this is what the context why Lindsay Hoyle was upset, because this was briefed to the media first, rather than being announced in Parliament.
Yeah.
Oh, was Charlie gone?
Oh, sorry, guys. I'm back on now. My
He's back. He disappeared in a magic disappearance there. Oh dear, you there?
yeah.
Charlie.
Sorry, guys. I think my end isn't playing up a little bit there. Well, I've joined. I am back on now. I do
There we
apologise.
go.
I do apologise about that. I think I'm having some technical issues tonight. But yeah, Zach, what I was going to say, there was a lot of anger in the comments the other day. I was watching the debate. Mark Francois, who's the Conservative MP for Reading Wickford, he was
Yeah.
fuming. There was another MP, Michael Fabricant, was also fuming as well. Of course, a Boris Johnson allied MP. Yeah, not ideal. Gary Baden, they're certainly not having the best of times in the Commons. And I think this whole Brexit EU thing is a craziness, really. The fact that they're stripping all the laws away. We've seen Alex Phillips and Alistair Campbell clash on the BBC Newsnight programme, I think, the other day. Well, it might not be Newsnight, but it was a BBC News programme where they both clashed. Alistair Campbell, of course, is a former politician, I'm pretty sure. He's been in politics for a while. But, yeah, very interesting. I'm surprised that many Brexiteers are not going to be happy with it. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting as well. I wonder as well, because I'm going to move on now just before we touch on Donald Trump's town hall. There's been some news from Sainsbury's, and this, a lot of people say Brexit might have affected this. I don't know. But Sainsbury's have apparently had product recalls added, issuing do not eats, basically recalling Mexican-style chili cheddar, and also apparently recalling there's fears that apparently contained like sickness and that, diarrhea, cross-contamination, Mexican cheese and that kind of stuff. Now, have you seen reports tonight of the turkey? Apparently as well. Yes. Turkey's elections now. So I thought I'd move on to this now. Now, obviously, we're going to go on to the big question now, which is the Turkey elections. Because I want to talk about that. Obviously, the Sainsbury's product recall, thought I just mentioned that, guys, whilst you're here, if you're shopping and that, make sure to avoid if that product is being recalled up. Just take note of it on your deliveries. Turkey's elections are on now, and Erdogan and Kılıçdaroğlu offer stark choices for presidency. So there's an election going on in Turkey for obviously whoever's going to be the leader. I know that obviously Recep Erdogan is still at the moment the leader, but it seems like he wants 6 million new jobs and accuses the West of trying to bring him down. Zach, what do you make to this election so far?
Yeah, I was watching a documentary on BBC the other day on the President Erdogan's rise and sort of made potential fall this Sunday on as him as a leader. And yeah, so this weekend Turkey's going to the polls, and probably one of those most crucial elections ever. What happens next could dictate, how in terms of the direction of the country that they're going to be facing in many ways as well. Now, President Erdogan is the current leader. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is the current leader. Obviously, he's been in power for many years now. He's been in power. It goes back quite a while in many ways as well. Going back. He was been there since 2014, where he's been president as well. So he's been in power for a long time, nearly 10 years to be precise, actually, as well. So he's been in a while, and he's become more and more controversial over time as well. Consolidating more power, removing, sort of freedom of the to sort of express opposition against him and all that sort of thing as well. A lot of ways. So he's up for re-election as part of the People Alliance Party. His main opponent this year is Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry. It's so hard, to be fair. So he's part of the Republicans' People Party, the CHP, the Nations Alliance, actually. He's the main opponent. as well, alongside with Sinan Ogan and Muhammad Ais. Now, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is at the moment, unbelievably, the favourite to become the president of Turkey. And President Erdogan has actually fallen behind in the polls a little bit as well. It looks like people are getting tired of his leadership as well. If obviously he loses this, then I think there's possible rumours about what he'd do if he loses re-election, whether he'd try to do a Donald Trump within the country, which, you know, it's been, as you know, was previously attempted in Brazil, successfully nearly done in USA. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see as well. 60 million people in Turkey will be able to cast, 3.2 million will be able to, you know, do that. This will be a 5-year term as well, and it takes place on the 14th of May, which is Sunday. There's 2 rounds of voting. So, well, the potential for 2 rounds of voting. A candidate must get at least, if I'm correct in saying, 51% of the vote to be able to become president, or it's 50 plus 1% or something like that as well. If no candidate receives over 50% on Sunday, it goes to a second round where the top 2 will face off to decide who becomes the president of Turkey as well. The favourite at the moment is Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. He's the centre. He's sort of a, you know, he's very old, I have to say. Well, these people, I must say, that, you know, in charge are very old. The Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is 74. President Erdogan as well. He's 69. So there's a gap of 5 years as well. But yeah, the Nation Alliance composed of 6 opposition parties, including the Republican People Party, the Kemal as well Alliance as well. And there are key policy differences. Turkey, President Erdogan wants to sort of retain power in many ways, well, via the presidential office as well. The issues involved the earthquake, the economy as well. There's been a lot of negative campaign around. There's been lots of quite violent protesting as well, campaign as well during the election, which caused quite a lot of worry in many ways as well. But nevertheless, as well, we are about to become. It's going to become an election as well. It'll be start as well. There will be voting day as well on the 14th of May. As well, announcement of the temporary result of the president electoral at 23:59 Turkey time. So we actually may not receive results, and then actually the final election results by the Supreme Election Council on the 19th. If this goes to the second round, then the 15th of May, the second round of campaign will begin. The start of voting procedure will begin on the 20th. The 28th day will be the second day of a round of voting, and then the temporary result on the 29th of May, and then the final results on June the 1st. As well, no candidate must become a simple majority to become president as well, and I believe the parliamentary elections are around about this time as well. So yeah, Turkey's future is going to be determined in the hands or this potentially this Sunday, if not 2 weeks after, and it could shape the way how the country is run, and you know, the direction it goes in as well. It could well go in different directions but potentially for the first time in many years, it looks like we may get a new leader if the polls are to be believed at the moment. But it's very tight, very, very tight at the moment. On first round voting, there's a clear consensus at the moment that Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is the leader. But when it comes to a two-way vote, it's tight at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, after more than 20 years in power, Recep Tayyip Erdogan promises a strong multilateral Turkey in creation of 6 million jobs and accuses the West trying to bring down his chief rival, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, back to broad opposition, wants to steer this NATO member state back towards a pro-Western, more democratic stance. The president accused opponent of being pro-LGBT, while Islamist-rooted party positions itself as a side of family. Now, the big question tonight is, do you trust the Turkish president? Because a lot of people have been asking me, and I've been seeing on the news, that during the war in Ukraine, particularly with Putin and obviously with, like, we know that obviously the UK have sent extra weapons over there to help them. We know with Putin and Zelensky, he's kind of been on a level playing field a bit. I mean, Zach, this is a big question, really. will the voters, particularly European voters especially, trust Erdogan as their leader, if not, and a leader of part of NATO, and an essential part of NATO?
Yeah, I mean, President Erdogan has, made a little bit controversy in many ways as well. I mean, he's got to balance the fact that as well, he's quite friendly to Vladimir Putin, though not like the best of friends. He's sort of like the peacemaker in some ways. He's trying to be a little bit of a peacemaker as well. He's been involved in all the serious stuff abroad and all that sort of thing. But on the world stage, President Erdogan has sort of developed a more anti-Western view over time during his like prime minister, and then president as well. And it's especially come under controversy, the fact that although he managed to create the grain deal in the Black Sea, which is good, but he also as well controversy for not allowing, say, Sweden to NATO at the moment as well. Obviously, the issue of the Kurdish issue there as well, potentially that Sweden are holding, not returning Kurdish terrorists to Turkey as well. And that's a big issue for them at the moment in many times. And so, he's been using NATO potentially as a guarding tool to sort of get Sweden to do whatever he wants and that sort of things as well. So the relationship with the West is not the best at the moment, given the fact that, there's been clashes with NATO, issues of support for Ukraine, all that sort of thing as well. So on the world stage, this may provide to be quite crucial over time, depending on who gets into leadership. Now, the opposition party leader, obviously, Kemal Erdogan, as well. I don't know what his last name is. So difficult, Turkish, as well. Then, the main opposition leaders has sort of criticised Russia for interfering in elections. Really, now he said he wants a constructive relationship with Russia, wants to continue the friendship, but it sounds like if he does get into the office, he's going to be a little bit tough on Russia, particularly. He wants to maintain that links, but be a little bit tougher, especially potentially on the war in Ukraine, and especially election happening as well. Like I said, this direction is going to change as well. I think President Erdogan has sort of been a sort of a stick and bowl, really upset person to sort of advance his own causes on the stage if he doesn't get what he wants, and especially with the Swedish issue of NATO and the transfer of fighter jets and the sort of work he's done in Syria as well. So I mean it's a bit different stuff on this world. It's really different, and my personal worry is what if he does get re-elected? What is he going to turn too authoritarian? He's already a bit authoritarian. He's going to turn even further authoritarian, and then sort of sidelining his own flank in NATO as well, and around the world, and make him look like pretty bad.
Yeah, the Turkish election's very important, guys. Keep you updated all the latest results as they come in. Now it's time to head back onto the main news. Now, this is the final bit of news before we do the sports roundup. I know a lot of you football fans have been waiting for the scores to come in. But now we're going to talk about the big news this week regarding Donald Trump, who held a town hall the other day with CNN. CNN hosted a town hall with the former president. Now, it's been reported that the president has apparently been given a sexual abuse charge over apparently sexual abuse against E. Jean Carroll. It's been reported in America about this as well. I've just had a comment earlier and I forgot to read it from your average Ethan UK saying hi on tonight's show. I hope you're enjoying the show tonight. I just want to say back on the Trump issue now. Now, there has been reports obviously of Trump having that claim. I'm particularly not going to give my view on this. I'm just reporting on it. It is a big development. Obviously, this could affect his presidential run. I hope it doesn't, but we definitely know Trump's going to most likely run for office. In that way, I have to say, Zach Lowe, it was a very interesting town hall, wasn't it, from former President Trump, because there was obviously a lot of comment. It was a lot of debate around the economy and stuff as well. And obviously we saw Kari Lake, the former Arizona governor, talk about this on Piers Morgan the other night as well. Do you think that this is an important issue for the United States at the moment? Or do you think that the Democrats kind of will look at this and try and use this as a tagline to attack Trump further?
I think, you see, first of all, let's talk about the fact that Donald Trump decides to go something hosted by CNN. That was the first surprise for me. That he decided to do something on a network he thoroughly hates so much, and yet decided to do a town hall via for it as well. He did it in New Hampshire, stacked with about 400 GOP voters that were for him or undecided, really, but most of them in the crowd really liked him in anyways as well. And it was typical Trump as well. It was combative, feisty, at times, in his words, nasty. At points, especially with some stuff that said. But yeah, he's been in the news this week as well, especially where CNN's got criticism for even hosting Donald Trump. I mean, it's not like CNN to host Donald Trump, and given the fact most of the presenters criticize him most of half the time, the fact that he even got a platform, I mean, I got sort of quite a lot of complaints, actually, to be fair. About the fact that CNN even decided to give him a platform, given the fact that it was name calling the basically insulting the host, not answering half questions, lying off his feet, having grievances and all that sort of thing as well. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, he came out quite happy about that. His aides were pretty happy about that. The other thing that I think as well that put a stain over his head, and even saw some of the GOP senators withdraw support for him, was this fact this Jeannie Carroll case where she was suing him for a civil lawsuit for rape claims and claims of compensation, all that sort of thing as well. Now this week we should point out that Donald Trump was found liable for sexual assault and then defamation as well. He was found not liable for rape, but it was found liable for sexual assault and defamation. There was ordered to pay $5 million. I should point out for the benefit here that a civil lawsuit is not the same as a criminal trial. So a civil lawsuit is where you sue someone, you want to gain compensation for them for any things that they've done. Now, Trump was found liable for sexual assault. He has not been found guilty of sexual assault, but he's been found liable, which means he could have done it with some reasonable doubt. He may have done this. So there's no prison sentence for him. He's not officially a rapist, but he's found liable for sexual assault. And that especially put a bad name to his image as well, given the fact that, it's not very good at all. If anybody at all to be had that on there to be tagged to them. Now, Trump said that in quite typical fashion that this woman was disgraced, the jury description was disgraced, that he never knew Jeannie Carroll personally, and he only got one photo with her and all that sort of thing as well. But yeah, it's been an eventful week for Donald Trump as well. I have to say it was not CNN's finest hour, especially with platforming Trump, but I get the fact that he's a Republican nominee and we need to hear from him and all that sort of thing as well. Potential nominee for the Republican Party in 2024. But given this is basically also, whilst it was a free hour for him on CNN, it was also a free hour for the Democrats campaigning material as well. Downplaying January the 6th, saying that the policeman who shot Ashley Babbitt was a thug. Saying that he had total right to all the documents inside Mar-a-Lago that was classified, the Jeannie Carroll sort of thing as well, insulting the host, calling her a nasty woman. He didn't like it. He did not like the thing at all. I'm surprised it even continued on, to be fair, as well for as long as it did, because if it was any other presenter other than Caitlin Collins that was doing that, I think that Trump probably would have walked out and not done it. So, yeah. I have to say that was not the eventful show I was going to expect to watch, really, quite frankly. I'd got it recorded. I didn't really watch most of it, but I saw some of the bits. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant viewing at all.
Yeah, it's very interesting. What do you make to Donald Trump's latest words there? Please comment down below what you make of it. Now it's time for the latest football news. Now, I know a lot of people have been really wanting me to do a football report this week. let's go and have a look at what's happened this week. Match day 35 of 38. We've only got a couple of weeks to go now. A few weeks to go, in fact, till the end of the Premier League season, which means we are going to be doing a football report. Now, obviously, match day 36 is tomorrow. We'll go over some of the matches. These are last week's results. Chelsea were 3-1 winners at Bournemouth. Man City were 2-1 winners at Leeds United. Wolves beat Aston Villa 1-0. Tottenham beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Liverpool beat Brentford 1-0. Arsenal beat Newcastle 2-0. West Ham United beat Man U 1-0. Fulham 5-3 winners against Leicester. Everton stuffing Brighton 5-1 in their bid for safety relegation. Nottingham Forest 4, Southampton 3. They were last week's results. All of this weekend's matches are here. Leeds Newcastle is the 12:30 kickoff. 3 o'clock kickoffs tomorrow. Southampton Fulham, Chelsea Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa Tottenham, and also Manchester United Wolves, Crystal Palace Bournemouth, and the Sunday 2 o'clocks are Everton and Man City. Brentford and West Ham are at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Monday night football is Leicester and Liverpool, and the other Sunday match is Arsenal and Brighton. So what do you make to the upcoming Premier League football fixtures and last week's results?
Yeah, it's got a big week ahead for football. There's now only 3 match days ahead. Some of them have obviously got more than 3 games due to rescheduled fixtures, but nevertheless, the focus is going to be on the top, basically on the first half and the second half of the table. So Leeds and Newcastle are big for both ends of the table. So if Leeds win this one, then they're out of the relegation zone as well, and they will then continue the day ahead of Everton and on par with Nottingham Forest, and then which will drop most likely Everton into the relegation zone as well. Newcastle have to win this to keep a chance of top 4 on the table as well. They've got one more game than Liverpool on hand, and a few other their rivals, including Brighton, that could well go ahead of them if needed to be. But it is a steep task for them anyways as well. Newcastle have to really make sure the win. They got Liverpool high on their foots now, who's been on a good run recently as well. And speaking of Liverpool as well, they are in action. They're in action on Monday against Leicester City, who are in deep trouble now, which is not great, especially for me, because I don't want to end up watching the Championship next season. I just don't like watching that bloody league. Not because there's obviously a lot of local stuff, but why we want to watch the Premier League? And my time, I will support Leicester if they go down, but I just probably wouldn't be watching them as much, to be fair. Not because I wouldn't love the team or anything like that, but it's just I wouldn't watch Championship football as much. But yeah, a big match for them this weekend as well. They're all 18th, Liverpool 5th in the league as well. Leicester have to win to get out this relegation zone. There's no ifs and no buts soon as well, with 3 matches left in the season. Another one who really should be winning this weekend and really has to win to have any chance of going out, getting out of the relegation zone as well, is Southampton. They this weekend as well, if I go to the correct area as well, they are taking against Fulham, who have potential European slots on the table. Now, I'm just going through the table here as well. Southampton, to be fair, after this weekend as well, Southampton, if they lose this match, could well, if they don't win this weekend, if they lose, be relegated this weekend potentially as well. If you think about it, if after this one, then if the likes of Leeds and Leicester win, then it's game over for Southampton in the Premier League. So this weekend is so crucial for them. And this weekend could be it for Southampton. They could well be going down to Championship football for the first time in years. But it all depends on what happens if they lose and then Leeds or Leicester win. That's it. They're out. Out do they go? They're gone. It's quite simple as that. Man City as well are also in action this weekend. It's the title fight's going to be the crucial one. It's Everton. They're taking on Everton this weekend. They're also in big trouble, by the way, as well. That will be a crucial match. And then Arsenal Brighton is the 4:30 game as well. European edition for Brighton could well be over if they lose to Arsenal, but Arsenal really need to win to keep their their title hopes alive in the future as well. I should point out, Charlie, as well, there's been other matches this weekend, European football. We saw on Tuesday Real Madrid against Man City in the Champions League, where it was a 1-1 draw. Madrid and Man City is going to be all evens going to next week's tie at home. Big tie ahead as well. And then the AC Milan derby on Tuesday as well between AC and Inter Milan. It was Inter Milan winning 2-0 on the first leg as well. Pretty crucial there as well. And then the Europa Conference League, where the other European team was involved, West Ham being AZ Alkmaar 2-1 ahead of the second leg there, which is next week at 8 o'clock as well on the Thursday as well. And then Fiorentina, they could either face, if they win West Ham going to the European final, could either face Fiorentina or Basel, which Basel's 2-1 against Fiorentina at the moment. But yeah, it's vice versa in the Premier League this week as well. And in terms of European football, where there'll be the second legs are there, and a crucial one this weekend that could decide the first team to go down potentially this weekend, and then shape how European football and the title is going to go ahead as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to keep you updated with all the football news, because there are tons of reports on the football. So yeah, certainly is very, very interesting there as well. We're also going to do a quick little update now. Before we move on now, we're actually going to do a quick update now, guys. Obviously, Formula One in action next weekend. We just can confirm last week, Max Verstappen taking the win there in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix with Sergio Perez in second, Fernando Alonso in third. Zach, what did you make to the quick update there? What did you make to the Formula One race last week?
Yeah, I mean, it was... It was a bit of criticism about it. It was a little bit more eventful this Miami Grand Prix last compared to
Miami. Sorry, it was Miami. Do apologise. Wasn't Azerbaijan.
I think it was a race 2 weeks ago. But again, Verstappen domination to drive. Really, I mean, he started in ninth position after getting screwed over a little bit by lap times and red flags in qualifying. But that Red Bull was just so quick, and to the point where he overtook literally everybody on the circuit. And then once he got ahead of Perez as well in the pit stops, and in terms of strategy, he had a better strategy, and he paid off, and he won the race, plain and simple. As well, no retirements, by the way, which I should point out. It's I think it's the first time this season we've not had any retirements. As well, no major yellow flags. It was a clean race, cracked on with it well, but yeah, I mean, it was it just showed this weekend the drive that Max Verstappen did was completely and utterly dominant, and it shows how fast that Red Bull is on the circuit, particularly as well. In F1 this season, no one's catched up with them at all at the moment. And it will be hard to do so. Next race is Imola, the made in Italy Emilio Romago Grand Prix. Very long name, I have to say, for race. But yeah, it's next week at the Imola circuit, where we've had quite a lot of historic moments, some tragic, some quite good moves there. Imola's a tricky circuit overall as well. It's quite fast actually, if you think about it. It's a very traditional sort of racing circuit, your classic service, fast corners, hard to overtake. Cars are wide, the circuit's a little bit narrow in parts as well. There's not much overtaking players, so it will be tricky as well. But it starts a 3-race run of Imola, Monaco, and Spain in the next 3 weeks after this week as well. I should point out as well. F1 this weekend, but obviously as well, there's not actually that much motorsport on this weekend. I don't think in terms of Formula E, that was last weekend as well.
We're going to go over that in a minute, actually.
And F1. So yeah, it's going to be a quiet weekend on the motorsport front. But yeah, what we're going to be looking forward to is F1 next week instead. Anyway, as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to when that comes along, and yeah, but just mainly going to be the football action that we're going to look forward to this weekend as well. Oh, there is actually IndyCar this weekend. I should point out, it's the Indy Road Course Grand Prix. We're in the month of May, so that means it's Indy 500 month. That's coming soon. That's coming up over next week, by the way. Practice for that. It's going to be over multiple sessions, multiple days as well. I think it's a total 6 practice sessions the next day after the Indy road course race as well. So I think on the Tuesday you'll see 3 practice sessions. There'll be a practice session each day on the Wednesday, the Thursday, and the Friday as well. And then there'll be qualifying next Saturday and Sunday as well. It will set the grid for the Indy 500. So yeah, I'm really looking forward as well to that. And there'll be plenty of Indy car action over the next couple of weeks. But like I said, it's the Indy road race this weekend as well. I believe they did actually have qualifying earlier today, actually, if I correct, actually, as well. So, yeah. Let me try and go through that and see.
Yeah, we can confirm to you guys that there is an IndyCar race. Obviously, last time out, Romain Grosjean very unluckily didn't win. Very close to winning. It comes second again. It was, I think, a first win. I think it was a first win for last weekend. So we're just going to get up the results here for the last weekend. It was actually Scott McLaughlin. Actually, no, Scott McLaughlin who won last time. Yeah, the GMR Grand Prix is going to be taking place this weekend as
Christian
well.
So Christian Lundgaard got the pole. Sorry, Charlie, for interrupting. Yeah, as well. And it was Felix Rosenqvist in second, Alex Palou third, Jack Harvey fourth, Pat Ward fifth, and Carl Kirkwood into the top 6 as well. So yeah, that's the top 6 for tomorrow's Indy road race tomorrow, which I believe is on at 8:30 UK time. We'll have to put on record because unfortunately it clashes with Eurovision, I should say. But yeah, that's tomorrow at 8:30 UK time. If you don't want to watch the spectacle of Eurovision, and it'll be Christian Lundgaard on pole for that one as well. Lots could happen in the Indy road race, and there's certainly plenty to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, there is. So we'll keep you updated with that as well. Now it's not time to talk about the Formula E race now. Last week, which took place in Monaco. I watched the highlights of this. What an entertaining race this was. If you're an answer to Kiwi drivers being top 2 in the championship, you have it. Nick Cassidy taking his 2nd win in a row, I believe, as well. This man is on a mission. Despite Jake Dennis having a bit of a poor run, getting back on the podium is what you want to see Jake Dennis doing and setting the fastest lap. This has been, whatever it has been, a great weekend for, just in general, for Nick Cassidy and Envision Racing. Taking the win there. Mitch Evans 2nd, Jake Dennis 3rd. Sasha Fenestraz finishing in 4th place, despite starting 2nd. Nissan having a huge haul of points from that. Jake Hughes started on pole, finishing 5th as well. That was after in the knockouts. He got through to knockout finals there. Dan Ticktum getting 6th position. That's a good result for Neo, actually. Very good. Very strong finish there as well. Jean-Eric Verne 7th for DS Penske. 8th, Sebastian Buemi in the Envision, 2nd of the Envisions. Stoffel Van Dorn 9th. Not having the best of seasons at the moment. Stoffel Van Dorn's going to get his foot down ahead of the rest of the season. And 10th place going the way of the final point. Pascal Wehrlein, again, Porsche just did not have a competitive weekend at all. Zach, what did you make of this Formula E Monaco Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of overtakes, I should say. About 100, I think it's about 116 overtakes overall. So who says you can't pass around Monaco for that instance? Well, Formula E cars definitely can. 116 overtakes, not for the lead, but overall in the race. So, and it was a very eventful race. Like I said, it was that Nick Cassidy, by the slimmest of the slimmest of margins, winning over Mitch Evans. It was an Australian 1-2, so it was a good race for the Aussies if you want to watch the fun there. But my goodness, it was so close. If I'm correct in saying that is 3/10 or 300th of a second covering the top 2 it was an awfully close race. Nick Cassidy just about got out in top ahead of Mitch Evans to win that race as well. Nick Cassidy put himself right in the title fight with this result, by the way, I should point out as well. A very deserved result for the young Aussie in many ways as well. And it was a great result as well. And like I said, Mitch Evans was third in that race. Jake Dennis in third. Sasha Fenitras, who was on fourth. Jake Hughes was fifth. Dan Ticktum sixth. Was okay. Had a bit of contact towards the end. Could have well the best result for that. John O'M seventh. As well, Sebastian Buemi eighth. Stoffel Vandoorne and Pascal Wehrlein, who was doing well earlier in the season, and unfortunately finishing in 10th position is not the way he would want to be. Working his way towards the championship as well. And in fact, because of the results, Nick Cassidy is now taking the lead in the championship race. He is 20 points ahead of Pascal Wehrlein in the championship. Well, Jake Dennis has fallen back a little bit. He's gained a little bit on Wehrlein. Mitch Evans fourth now, and then Joy was fifth. Antonio Felix Costa sixth. Seventh, Buemi eighth, Jake Hughes ninth, and Felix Rasquez in 10th with Stoffel Vandoorne 11th as well. So, yeah, the championship just got interesting. There's still a few races to go in this championship, no doubt about it. There are now, the next time round will be a double race in Jakarta as well. We've got a little gap now until June, but a double header in Jakarta is what's happening in June, and then after that we're going to 3 more locations: Portland, Rome, and then London, which will end the season as well. So 4 more locations to go to. 2 of them are going to be double. Next one's double header in Jakarta. As well, Portland's is an individual one. Then they're going to finish the season off with double headers in Rome and then London as well. But next up will be Jakarta as well in the start of June.
Yes, Formula E is going to be back. I'm really excited for this. I've watched Formula E. It's a great series. Honestly, I'd love to see electric racing, be more widespread. I mean, yeah, it's certainly very, very interesting to say the least there. Now it's time to talk about Conversation Street tonight. Now, tonight's episode, we're going to talk about something a bit different now. As the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix is next weekend, I thought I'd cover this weekend. I know tonight's Conversation Street is going to be a bit different, but we're going to talk about the 1994 Black Weekend. Now, a lot of motorsport fans will know exactly what this is, and me and Zach certainly do. So we're going to talk about it. Now, obviously, this year marks 29 years ago since the event happened. And obviously, the 1994 weekend saw the death of 2 racing drivers. Ayrton Senna, who was Brazilian, and Roland Ratzenberger was an Austrian. Now, what happened was very horrible. Honestly, qualifying on Saturday, Roland Ratzenberger's Simtek lost its front wing and crashed into the wall about 20 minutes into the session. Then on Friday, we saw Rubens Barrichello crash his Jordan into the wall at the Variante Bassa chicane, which was the chicane that was located right at the end of the track. And then, of course, faithfully on race day, after lap 7, in fact, it started before then, when Pedro Lami's Lotus hit the back of JJ Lehto's Benetton, then caused a safety car, and then on about lap 7, Ayrton Senna, unfortunately, faithfully, had a huge accident down at Tamburello, which caused, unfortunately, serious injuries, and Senna unfortunately passed away later that night. So that's how the weekend summed up. I mean, Zach, what are your memories from the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix? I mean, this event for F1 fans is one that many motorsport fans will always remember for what happened that very day.
Yeah, and it's certainly in the memories of a lot of people as well. We're coming up as well. I should point out next year will be the 30th anniversary of the bad day itself soon, and this is the 29th year. But it's nearly been so long since that happened. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many events that led to such controversy in dark days. We had on the Friday, where it's all started with Rubens Barrichello's rather horrific crash at Valtteri Bassa, hitting the curb 140 miles an hour. Then you had that big air accident, flipping over, knocking him unconscious, and then giving him quite a few injuries. And that was the first sort of big accident of the weekend that sort of, really, really, really bad incident. It's quite striking how he got injured and then came back the next day, as well. Despite the fact he didn't take part, but it's just incredible how bad that accident was. And then we got to Saturday, and the second bad accident, Roland Ratzenberger, another one who we remember quite well, sort of the underappreciated drivers that we never remember, but really, really good. The Villeneuve curve, and he's as well. He's hit the concrete barrier, which is the hardest barrier you could ever hit. In F1, it's not like safer barriers and everything. We didn't have safer barriers in those days. They're big hard concrete walls that if you hit them, they're bloody hurt. And this one really bad. He suffered a skull fracture as well in the accident, and then it had it's just with the rest is history from there onwards as well. It was really hard to watch, quite frankly, at that time. He was confirmed dead. As a result of multiple injuries in that accident as well. And it's just, there's so much controversy of whether there was even supposed to race on Imola on the Sunday as well. And they eventually, although there was a lot of worries and all that sort of thing as well, they did decide to start the race. And then there was that accident on the first start with Pedro Lamy into the back of J.J. Leto's Benetton. That was a pretty big accident. I mean, luckily everyone out, safety car was deployed for that, but it was lucky that everybody got out of that incident unharmed as well. And the race restarted afterwards, and it's a pretty normal race because you got Ayrton Senna as well, just doing his normal thing, going around. It was behind the cars a little bit as well. But look, we had that restart as well, the track debris. Schumacher was flying away, everything like that as well. Senna was leading, Schumacher 190 miles an hour. He couldn't take a Tamburi left corner and then hit the barrier at 100, which was concrete, 131 miles an hour as well. That was so big, the impact. It instantly killed Ayrton Senna. And pretty bad impact. And then the fact was, although they restarted the race as well, the fact that he was killed as well, it was just it was a horrifying sight. It was a really dark weekend. The fact that they even restarted, the fact that 2 drivers were killed in that accident was just a horrible sight. And it lived long for many people, the memories of what happened. But we remember in good ways what Ayrton Service of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger did in many ways, but we also have to highlight as well what happened. And there's just been so much safety improvement since then. We've obviously got those barriers, we've got arm codes, we got more resilient, safer, softer walls and all that sort of thing as well. That to protect the drivers and everything like that. But it just shows how advanced technologies come these days as well, and just provide a good example of that.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher won the race that day as well, and I watched Murray Walker announcing that. Oh, it was pretty emotional. Eric Comas as well tried to save Senna from potentially having that horrible crash, but it was unfortunate he could do nothing. And that was unfortunately the news we got, that Senna died that day. And yeah, Dale Earnhardt won obviously the NASCAR race at Talladega that day, and he paid his tribute to Ayrton Senna in Victory Circle that day as well. So yeah, and even the NASCAR drivers certainly done that as well. Yeah, but all I can say is we obviously remember that day very well. I thought I'd highlight that on my show tonight as an important reminder that motor racing is a dangerous sport. And we need, obviously, there was 20 years. Obviously, we lost Jules Bianchi nearly 10 years ago now as well, after that horrible crash at the Japanese Grand Prix in horrible conditions, in wet conditions. So yeah, we obviously remember that very well, but it shows you motor racing has evolved significantly since then, and the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix does return next week for Formula One. Moving on now to the papers. Press preview now, where we're going to have a look at tonight's big newspaper headlines, because we have got tons of papers to go through. Quite a few papers. Now, interestingly, we start off tonight with this newspaper, which is The Times. It goes, with Prime Minister's focus on science is hot air. That is according to someone called Dyson.
Dyson?
Yes, I'm guessing that's probably to do with the guy that founded the Hoover Company, James Dyson. Yeah, investor wants Tory policies, debtor investment. Interestingly enough there. The Daily Telegraph goes, India demand the return to colonial treasuries. BBC told to let Zelensky speak at Eurovision, Sunak leads backlash on that one. The Mirror goes, oh, a very interesting news story this morning in crisis, as Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby apparently have a fallout. As the headline goes, Phil fights for his job on This Morning. The Daily Mail goes, now 200 firms say axe tourist tax. Bosses of Selfridges and the Ritz join our fight to get the UK booming. The Financial Times weekend goes, for PwC races to stem the Australia scandal. Canberra tax plans leaked. Firm flies chief to Sydney. Threat of an international crisis. The Guardian goes, for expect Blair-style reforms on steroids, says Labour Party leader and leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer. So Keir Starmer there saying that. Daily Express goes, mum's love for Nikki 7 gave her justice. That goes for, unfortunately, the 31-year-old's fight for justice led to conviction of David Boyd and the murder of a 7-year-old daughter, Nikki Allen. The Daily Star goes, those shall have more rumpy-pumpy. That's in reference to the Pope there as well. The Independent goes, Sunak let Ukraine leaders speak to the world at Eurovision. And the Weekend goes, for Sunak guilty of managed decline of the Conservative Party, warns former Home Secretary Priti Patel. What do you make to the latest newspaper headlines?
Yeah, interesting mix, I have to say, of papers. Now, I want to point out something on the first of all, Charlie. Let's cover some of them that cover multiple papers, first of all. You may see there's a little image on multiple of the front pages, actually, of the fact that this is the king as well, and the future crowns, by the way. This is a portrait of what the future crowns are going to be in the future after the king either gives up the throne or, dies of natural causes. I don't want to wish that ahead, but this is official for as well. So there's King there at the moment. There's King Charles. If King Charles ever resigns from the throne or passes away, then Prince William follows as well. And after Prince William follows George, young George as well. We're going to have a very young king in the future if this goes everything the way as well. But Prince William is second in line. George is third in line at the moment as well. And we have just seen there is a picture of the future kings, and the kings of today and the kings of the future. If should everything go well, and if everything is to plan. As well. It's a lovely image, by the way, of the king sitting in the crown with, as the current crown, seen with the future crowns as well, in many ways as well. But moving on to the Times, and let's start with that. PM focuses on science is hot air, says Dyson. That's to do with James Dyson, presumably as well. I can't actually zoom into this as well. Rishi Sunak can be accused by one of Britain's best scientists, or hot air, basically. Investor warns Tory policy to deter investment as well, which is obviously something that the Prime Minister sort of focused on investment in the science area as well, which is obviously critical for him to get the, engage in technology and all that sort of thing as well. But yeah, James Dyson not too impressed with the Conservative approach. So I mean, I've heard good things about, to be fair, about the scientific approach as well. I want to be an enterprise, and I'm all for investing in science. Maybe we just probably need to go a little bit quicker on that front to sort of like, invest a little bit more in that, something like that as well. And the Daily Telegraph goes for India to demand return of colonial treasures. Modi playing a reckoning with party, target crown jewels and museum architects as well. That's an interesting one, I have to say. It's not something I'm.
Sorry, guys, we've lost Zach for the. We've lost Zach for the minute there. I do apologise. My friend Zach has unfortunately suffered some technical issues. So I do apologise, guys, if we have lost Zach. So I will continue going over the papers whilst we're here until we can get Zach back on as well. Now, the other one, India demands the return of colonial treasuries now. This is a very interesting news story. It says here, Modi plans a reckoning of the past and targets the crown jewels and museum artifacts. Now, a very interesting news story there. I wonder if India is heading into a campaign of terrorism the earth here. It's a very interesting headline. And obviously India at the moment is in sort of crisis. Oh, Zach's back now.
Sorry about that, Charlie. When my thing went a bit pop.
Yeah, we're just covering the India newspaper right now, the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah, so this is the fact that India demanded some of the colonial treasures sort of return as well. By the way, as well, I must admit it's not something that I've sort of followed. I don't know what the business of this really, to be fair. As well, India will some sort of diplomatic campaign to return some of the crown jewels and the artifacts that's sort of been transferred over into India and into sort of the UK as well. And sort of Indian Modi wants to sort of return them as well to sort of come back to the past and into the future with many ways of these things as well. So it's a very sort of interesting way to get the items back as well. It may be a bit of a diplomatic fight on the hands there. It will be quite something to be fighting over crown jewels, maybe as well. I mean, India is now the crown jewels of the population, should I just say? In a sort of unrelated note, they're now the most populous country in the world in terms of human beings being present in that country as well. So yeah, it may be that maybe once Modi wants more crowns back in the country in many ways as well. Which would be good to see as well. I've got a bit of a lump in my throat actually. I'll keep gagging all my sideways. Do apologise for that as well. Moving on to the Mirror, they've done field fights for job. Now, not only the Sun that's been reporting this, but the Daily Mirror has been sort of going behind the scenes. Well, there's been reports of a rift between Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby, aka the former Q jumpers. In the past, shall we say? The Daily Mail this evening claimed that that Philip Schofield's job is on the line at this morning. Decided to claim as well, and this the fact that he's having the problems behind the scenes and tensions and everything like that means that ITV, according to insiders at ITV, his job may be on the line. And quite frankly, now for the record, Philip Schofield has put a statement saying, well, there's nothing, I've had a difficult few weeks. Obviously, he's had his brother's trial, obviously, for sexual abuse and everything like that. So that may have contributed to it. But it is, well, Philip Schofield sort of downplaying it in a sort of official statement that he put on the record saying that, it's been difficult a few weeks for me and Holly and all that sort of thing. And, and she's saying that for Holly's her rock and everything like that as well. So obviously downplay it in on the record, but different behind the scenes. They're also reporting the stuff as well. The Daily Mail goes for the tourist tax, which they're sort of campaigning on recently as well, and to get UK booming as well, and to reinstate tax-free shopping for overseas tourists as well, whilst we have to pay for the bloody taxes. I don't understand the Daily Mail on this one. Bosses of Selfridges and the Ritz join the Daily Mail's campaign fight to get rid of the tourist tax and reinstate tax-free shopping for overseas tourists. I don't think that makes sense, quite frankly. We as Brits have to pay for. We don't get tax-free shopping. We have to pay for it. The tourists do potentially. Well, they don't at the moment, but you know they want to get rid of it for the tourists, not the UK users. I don't think that makes sense at all, really, quite frankly. That's sort of contradictory for the fact what the Daily Mail have done in the past. It's strange. It really is strange. FT weekend, PwC races stern Australia scandal. Caribbean tax plans leak. Firm flies chiefs to Sydney. Threats of international crisis. As well. It's interesting as well what's happening there as well. Some stuff that I don't really know about the PwC races to stem Australia scandal as well. Some tax plans that have been leaked and all that sort of thing. It all sounds a bit business dodgy as well. This is what I'm reading, Charlie. Actually, I'm just looking this up. Become mired in a tax scandal as well. Use government secrets to help clients in US and the US avoid tax as well. It's forced hundreds of resignations and threatened contracts worth hundreds of millions of pounds as well. Australian politicians got 144 pages of Intel PwC conference and are pouring scorn on the company at central provision of government services as well. So yeah, this looks like a very terrible business idea that's gone totally tits up, quite frankly, with ideas of how to dodge laws, avoid taxes. It's a terrible look for the company, I should say, for what PwC is doing. It's a really terrible look, and quite frankly, they should be deeply ashamed of themselves as well. The Guardian goes for accept Blair-style reforms on steroids. Labour must become more radical because of scale crisis facing the UK. That goes, and they're saying that Labour will have to offer a radical general election vision that goes further and deeper than Tony Blair's government because of the scale of the crisis facing the country. This is something that Keir Starmer wrote in the Guardian. Saying reforms are essential, necessary because Labour government will have a bigger task than Blair, obviously, to fix the problems as well. You know, and all that sort of thing. He called for medical church as well, and reforming services, fixing the problems in many ways. And I mean, he sounds a bit socialist in that in that sort of way that he's talking about, even if he isn't a socialist in some way. So
it's a bit early for Keir Starmer to say that, I think.
Maybe sort of the quiet sheep now before he comes a little bit sort of alive in many ways. I mean, he's been criticised, not saying what, for criticising the Tories, but not saying what he wants. Maybe as we get over time that he's coming out of that quiet shell and he's going to have these big transformative ideas in his head that sort of get things going, and then boom, there we go. The Daily Express, and as well, got 4 papers to do. The Daily Express goes for mum's love for Nikki. 7 gave her justice as well. The Daily Express covers Marla's 31-year fight for justice to elect convicted David Boyd for the murder of 7-year-old Nikki Allen. As well, Sharon Henderson fight to put Nikki Allen's killing jail was found. It ended as David Boyd was found guilty of murder yesterday. Today. They put yesterday, but it's obviously today. Also because they're right. We'll talk about the papers today as well. But yeah, well done to the mother as well. Many plays as well. Well done to Sharon for the fighting for her daughter and getting a convicted murderess 31 years as well. Found guilty as well, and that would be more than 31 years. Probably the rest of his life he's sentenced to jail. So fair play to the mother standing up for the child. You should have had a life ahead of her, but doesn't now. Unfortunately, the Daily Star's comical headline of the day: those shalt have more brumpy pumpy. Pope issued commandment we can all fully support. God's right-hand man wants people to have more say how your father, but only if they live in Italy, which is even rule. Okay. The Daily Star highlights Pope's urging for town to have more rumpy pumpy to increase the country's birth rate. Okay. Now I understand what that's about now. I didn't know the Pope was so interested in seeing how much the people give birth and wanting babies, but yeah, that's how interesting the church has become these days in terms of, getting involved in the fun part as well. The Daily Star on that front. The Independent leads on the Eurovision final this weekend. PM Lee's calls for Zelensky to avoid a dress song contest after the bans over fears speech will become too political. Now, under the rules of Eurovision, European Broadcasting Company, Union as well, there can be no political activism at Eurovision in terms of speeches and all that sort of thing. It's all politics free, supposed to be there. But obviously, given the fact that tomorrow's Eurovision final has been hosted, it's basically, although it's been it's in the UK, it's been hosted on behalf of Ukraine, who won the competition last year as well. And it's going to be a big presence in of Eurovision with Ukrainian culture on display, UK culture as well. The Prime Minister intervened to say it was disappointed that the decision by the Ukraine Broadcasting Union fears would allow it to be too political, as well. So yeah, I do think we should hear from President Zelensky personally, in my view. But yeah, I think tomorrow's final is going to be really fun. It's going to be watched across the world. And I'm really looking forward to it because it's probably the best music event of the year. It's crazy, it's mad, it's fun. It unites everyone together. And it's just going to be a brilliant night full of music and entertainment. I'm really going to look forward to watching to Charlie. It's going to be brilliant as well. So yeah, on that front as well. And then finally, the iWeekend. Sunak guilty of marriage decline. Priti Patel is one of the speakers of this weekend's Conservative Democracy Forum, which has been organised by sort of the allies of Boris Johnson. Now, Boris Johnson isn't going to be there this weekend, but Priti Patel is going to be one of the speakers. And she's warning that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is doing the managed decline of the Conservative Party. I mean, that's a very strong statement from Priti Patel, who was wants to help decline the Boris Johnson power, given all the rumours of the fact that she was part of the plot to get rid of Johnson at the last big meeting after that that Privilege Committee meeting, not privilege, I can't remember well, liaison committee meeting that sort of held when on that infamous day when you had that liaison committee and then the cabinet go together behind the scenes to force him out of office. And yeah, the rest was history on their own. But Priti Patel was one of the Johnson-like rings of the party who was to be speaking at this forum. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of a divide on this division on display, especially over the weekend as well, and giving the speakers as well. But yeah, that's the papers for tomorrow, the 13th of May.
Yeah, plenty of papers. And unfortunately, that has come to the end of our show as we've run out of time to do any other things as well. I would just like to remind you guys, if you're watching TV tomorrow, Britain's Got Talent will air on Sunday at 7:40 due to Eurovision being on tomorrow. So I thought I'd update you on all that regarding your UK entertainment news there as well. That's it for the Tonight Show podcast. We'll see you again next time for another episode. Thank you for listening, everyone. Take care and good night.